Hello, friends. Before we start, I want to thank these friends who supported the channel financially, and this encouraged me to upload this video. In the previous part, the 5th round began, and the main task was to defeat 300 orcs per person within 10 hours, and the sub-quests was to collect 4 balance stones. But the stakes were high in this round for the sub-quest. Only one player could receive the reward per zone, a challenging rule that added an edge to the competition. And because the balance stones, the crucial materials that needed to be gathered for this sub-quest, have a fixed number, it's definitely going to be tough. Then, Ryu said to himself, bagging 300 orcs, no doubt, was simpler than amassing 4 balance stones, and getting my hands on those balance stones won't easy. But Ryu breathed a sigh of relief because he knew that even if the players completed the mission, the number of people who could meet the balance rune's conditions would be limited. Probably only Ryu Min, who prepared beforehand and adjusted his stats, could truly gain benefits from the rune of balance. And in the midst of strategizing, Priscilla resumed her explanation. This round's sub-quest revolves around collecting balance stones. You snatch up 4, and you will instantly get a reward marked with a question mark. However, only one lucky human gets to bask in the glory. One of the players said in amazement, "Just one?" Priscilla said, "Yep, because there are only 4 balance stones within the zone." Then the player said, "But what if the 4 stones were gathered by different players? Won't the sub-quests just fail?" Priscilla said with an evil look and amusement in her expression. "Sure, but don't worry. If you take down other players, you can swipe their balance stones." One of the players said, "Kill to snatch, similar to competing for the zone representative seat?" Priscilla replied, "Yes. And unlike the previous round, death doesn't lead to a do-over. Once you're out, you're out." And she continued saying, "Put conscience and morality aside, and getting rid of your fellow players will not be an arduous task. And didn't we practice this over and over again during the 4th round?" After hearing that, some players' eyes sparkled with determination, and the look that said they'd eliminate others without a second thought, all for the sake of the sub-quest. Then Priscilla said, "Of course sub-quests had their appeal, but they can't quite steal the spotlight from main quests, right? If you failed to take down 300 orcs within a 10-hour time frame, there was no escape. You'd be out, no exceptions. And if you missed the leaderboard due to the timing, the consequence remained the same." Players nodded in agreement. Bagging 300 orcs wasn't an insurmountable challenge. They had a generous 10-hour window after all. And before Priscilla and the remaining angels vanished from sight, she said, "All right, I've given you all the intel you need. Now struggle hard." After that, a message from the system appears. Time remaining until round ends, 09, 59, 59. As the progress window displayed the ticking seconds, Ryu Min sprang into action, and he said to himself, "Just as the angel said, sub-quests have their charm, but main quests take precedence. And the key here is speed. The quicker I achieve this, the better the rewards. Minjuri's assistance can come after, and Ryu wasn't worried about Minjuri as he has already cautioned Minjuri about the orcs. So he decided to go alone because, when it came to setting records, flying solo was quicker than sticking together. Even without buffs, eliminating about 300 orcs was a walk in the park. With determined steps, Ryu Min quickened his pace. Time was of the essence in establishing a record. As Ryu passed by the players without harming anyone, players collectively released held breaths. Then one player said, "Phew, he was just passing by." Thank goodness. Another player said, "Caught me off guard with that sudden approach." My heart skipped a beat. But where's Black Scythe heading so purposefully? At this moment, one player said excitedly, "Yeah, what's the deal? Should we tag along?" Hearing this daring suggestion, listeners leaped to their feet and they said, "Are you crazy? Chasing after Black Scythe? Want to be under his dominion? And he would probably enslave you for life." Given Black Scythe's swift and ruthless beheadings, everyone was very afraid and wary at the mere idea of approaching Ryu. Then one of the players gathered his courage and said, "But is it better to just stay idle like this?" Anything Black Scythe chases after is very important. He always knows what to do. That's why he consistently secures the first place. One of the players responded in fear. But what if we get caught following him? The player said. Then we track him from a safe distance, but if you're not up for it, maybe you all should stay here. I'm going even if I'm alone. After a moment of contemplation, other players decided to go with him on the same route that Rio went. And while they were walking, they saw a village. It was a small village with haphazardly placed wooden stakes. One player asked, "What kind of village is that?" Another player answered, "That is the orc stronghold, and at the entrance to the village, an orc was standing there, almost like a patrol." Suddenly the orc heard a soft sound. It was the sound of Ryu swinging the Black Scythe, and with one blow, the orc was killed. After easily killing one orc, Black Scythe entered the stronghold, and when the orcs, who had been roaming the village, caught sight of the intruder, they grabbed the axes hanging from their waists. They shouted some unintelligible words, then orcs charged at Ryu, with a determined spirit, but death befell the orcs, and without exception, bodies fell to the ground, and with momentum, Ryu entered a rudimentary hut. And eerie sounds resonated, then Ryu emerged. Seeing Black Scythe returning to the village for more, players felt reassured, and one of them said, "As anticipated, the orcs seemed weak, and I don't see a big deal. They're just orcs." Another player was worried and said, "Maybe Black Scythe makes it look easier than it is." The player replied, "Indeed, the Black Scythe is strong, but not that kind of strong. We can handle it as well, right?" And another said, "In games, orcs often occurred as cannon fodder, easy to defeat. But the sheer might of Black Scythe might be the reason they look easy to kill. Don't dismiss vigilance." The player replied, "Right. No harm in being cautious, and we won't know their true strength until we face them. And instead of watching, let's take on a village just like the Black Scythe did." Then around 20 players set out in search of different strongholds. Even though this quest didn't inherently require teamwork, there was another motivation driving their unity, as they were still unsure of the orcs' true power, and that making teamwork a strategic choice for now. Plus, banding together would provide a cushion for safety. Then one player said to himself, "I should cooperate with these newcomers for now, and if I find it doable to handle them solo after observing from the shadows, then I will act separately." Suddenly, one of the players said, "Hey, look, there's a village." A swarm of players who spotted a new orc nest hurried to the scene, and they said, "Wow, this one seems larger." And this village surpassed Black Scythe's raid site by threefold in magnitude. But suddenly an orc blew a horn. Then one player said, "What's that? Why does that one have a horn? Could it be calling for other orcs?" Then scores of orcs surged forth from the huts, forming an unbroken line. They were over 50 orcs. The shared expression among the players was unanimous, a mixture of shock and dismay, and this unforeseen surge in orc numbers caught them all off guard, especially in such overwhelming abundance. Then one player said, "Are you joking? This is why this village seemed larger. I never imagined there'd be this many." After that, the orcs started rushing towards the players, and one player said, "Damn it, we must fight for our lives, and they're just a bunch of orcs, nothing to fear." Then players faced the oncoming orc onslaught, and the clash of weapons echoed. And after exchanging some blows, one of the players said, "What's going on with these orcs? They're not that skilled, and their attacks aren't that swift either." Despite the axes carrying considerable force, the players managed to parry them. With seeing a glimmer of opportunity, players retaliated, and the sound of weapons piercing orc flesh echoed in the air. But something unexpected happened. Orc's muscles held on to the blade with a vice-like grip, defying release, and the player couldn't wrest the weapon from the orc's body. And in a surge of anger, an orc swung its axe, and the sharp impact resonated as a player collapsed and was crushed. Other orcs, quick to react, raised their axes again, and the number of fallen players steadily grew. Although the orcs' slow attack speed and lack of skills were real, even with these axe skills, killing a single human was no challenge. Then one player said, Shit, to fall to orcs like this. Ah, didn't think orcs could be this organized. At this moment, the orcs threw their arms up, celebrating their apparent victory, and it didn't take long for the group of 20 players to meet their downfall. On the other side, Ryumin, who had been leading, suddenly cast a glance backward and said to himself, "Moments ago there were around 20 following me. Now, they've vanished." Although Ryu wasn't known for his empathy toward others, he was only mildly concerned because the puppies that were following him were suddenly nowhere in sight, and he continued saying to himself, "Well, I shouldn't be worried. As long as they don't stir up trouble with those massive orc camps, they should be fine." Ordinarily, it was wise to steer clear of orc strongholds because they were sizable, and with a single blast of the horn, more than 50 orcs would gather quickly, and nests usually have over 200 orcs. 20 players would hardly do any damage. This is why dealing with orcs was tricky. And this was not the only difficulty facing the orcs, because thanks to their distinct muscle density compared to humans, pulling a blade from them won't be easy. After that, a message from the system appears. Time left until round ends, 08:59, T2. Ryu said to himself about an hour had flown by, and it should yield a decent outcome. And at that moment, Ryu was relieved, and he already had a reason for it, as he'd already wrapped up the main quest. After that, Ryu continued looking at the system message, main quest progress, orcs 300, entire area, achievers 119,327,557, specific area CESCAS 007, achievers 11211. Seeing the achiever's stats, he realized he was the only person to have completed the quest, not just in that specific area, but across the entire region. Then he said, "First place is locked in for now. Should I head over to support Minjuri?" And Ryu activated his tracking skill. He knew Minjuri's face and nickname, so locating her wasn't a challenge. After using the skill, the information appeared, target Minjuri located, currently 1,609 miles away. To track the target, follow the arrow ahead. And without hesitation, Ryu Min set off. And while he was heading towards Minjuri, a group of orcs appeared on his way. But that was a fleeting moment, because with a swift motion, heads rose and bodies fell, one after another. And a group of messages began to appear. "You have triumphed over the orcs. Experience gained, plus 0.41%, gold plus 40. All stats boosted by 100% due to the Rune of Slaughter effect. Attack speed increased by 25% due to the Skullbone Necklace effect." Then Ryu, who dispatched 3 orcs as effortlessly as swatting at passing bugs, squinted as he looked at the Earned experience and said, "It feels kinda tight in terms of experience even without the experience buff." Although Ryu had taken down 303 foes, his level had only increased by 1, and he was at level 31 currently. And this could be because his level is already too high. Certainly, the experience might have seemed meager to Ryu Min, but it wouldn't have been so for other players. And most of them would probably hit level 20 just by finishing the Orc 300 kill quest. But Ryu Min's goal was level 40. Then Ryu said, "I have plenty of time to assist Minjuri and level up. No need to fret." And he didn't perceive aiding her as a loss because if Minjuri progressed, Ryu Min would also reap rewards. Plus, they were classmates after all. And he continued saying, "I regret not paying enough attention last time, but this time it would be different. And starting from round 5, they would be working together." Then Ryu checked his inventory, and his gold had piled up nicely. And he said to himself, "With the gold I already had, that makes a total of 14,000 gold. And at this pace, I could possibly amass over 100,000 gold just in this round, and I could acquire all the common skills available at the store." After that, Ryu decided to continue his way to Minjuri's location, but suddenly a new task appeared from the system. It was about taking down the mid-boss of this round, the Orc Warrior. Part ends here. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you support the channel financially, it will be a great help to the continuation of this manga.